Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. I have got a really cool guest that's going to give you a really neat story and experience and everything that, it's kind of a corporate America story, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And so, with that said, episode 67, I want to introduce to you Debbie Camacho. I want to say, is Franco?
You
Yeah, I
got
got
it.
it right. Welcome to the show.
All right. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate you. And, thank you for having me. And just so you know, you have definitely been a life changer in my life. And thank you and to Kelly.
Oh,
Yes,
man.
you-
Thank you. So
absolutely.
for all the listeners that are on right now, I met Deb. So this is how things work in life, right? Like this is a true experience of how things work. Debbie and I never knew each other 7, 8 months ago, right? I maybe
Mhm.
it's been a year, it's been about actually a year. So we met at a networking group called Investor Fuel with my buddy Mike Cambright that runs that Investor Fuel. And so she was there as a guest, and we just hit it off, and we were talking. And now Debbie has this ability to ask lots of questions. Okay. But I
Corey,
call
in
her the
order to be
Spanish
a good,
Inquisition.
but see, I also call it, to be a good leader, you have to be a good listener. And in order to be a good listener, you have to ask lots of questions, right?
Yeah. And so, but she got really, she was just like, tell me about this multifamily. And she just had, and she cornered me and we had like an event later on that evening. She cornered me. She kept on asking me more and more questions. And finally, I was like, man, you should just come to my event. And so, and she did. So she came to the Kahuna Boardroom. And I remember you're just like, gosh, I don't know. I want to, you like, you wanted to make sure that it was the right thing, right? I mean,
Right.
because it's not cheap, right?
Correct.
And you're just like, if I do this, am I going to get like it? And what did I tell
Right.
you? What did I tell you? Because I know
And
what I
you
said.
said, yes, you will. And I will tell you this, and I concur with you. And the reason I was a bit so hesitant at first was because a little bit, to backtrack a little bit, I had decided to commit to building my real estate business in December 2017 when I joined an amazing program that opened up my eyes. And after that, of course, with all the travel and all the educational trainings, you spend a lot of money. And when starting a new business and the marketing, everything, it's just a lot of money. So I was at a point where I said, okay, the next time I invest, a next amount of money, I want to make sure that it really is the good deal and
Because and
real
this is
deal.
hey, this is what happens, right? You spend
Uh-huh.
like they lure you in. Oh, it's only $1,000, and then they teach like this much, and they say, oh, but you need to spend 20,000 to get the real stuff. Is that not what happens? It seems
Right.
like.
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
my program personally, it has been amazing because actually, because of that, that's how I got to you. So,
Right.
in fact, it was, because I got committed to joining that. And then through that, through the networking, I decided to, with all my coaches, they said, listen, Debbie, if you want to get into the multifamily, just do it. You don't have to start, wholesaling or continuing rehabbing or whatever the case might be. Just go for it. So what I did was I started to do my homework around who's who in the multifamily business. And the reason for that is because in my corporate career, that's what's helped me do well, and it's always good to know who's who in the organization. So I started immersing myself in the multifamily space, knowing who's who, and then through that, I met a phenomenal, my phenomenal partner who then introduced me to someone else. I then went to a mastermind and then introduced me to Gary and Susan Harper, who were phenomenal. And then they introduced me to Mike Hambright. And then that's where I met you. So it's just the power of connection is just amazing. And if I would have never joined that program in December 2017, quite frankly, Corey, it would have, I'm
We wouldn't be
sure,
talking, right?
exactly. And maybe we will be talking about way later on in life because I believe if things are meant to be, they will. But obviously, I don't think it would have happened this quickly. And so when I talked to you and I cornered you for all day long and even at dinner, I felt the reason why when you said, yeah, just come to my event, it wasn't even a question in my mind, like how much it was. It didn't matter how much you were going to tell me it was going to cost because you were so genuine, and you were so respectful of, what I could also bring to the table, even though I had quote unquote zero real estate experience, and you believed in me. And then that's why I said, you know what, done deal, and let's do this. So when I went in August with my partner, ever since then, it's been a life changer. And again, thank you so much. And you too, Kelly. You guys are phenomenal.
So
I
I
love you
watched you
guys.
come to this event, right? I saw someone. So, every time the right people always seem to find their way to my boardroom event, right? It's application only, but like, I feel like the right people always come that truly want to do something, right? They want change, and you fit that mold exactly. And it's easy to believe in when people are the right people, right? That they want to better their lives, they want to grow, and that was exactly where you're at, right? You're like,
Hmm.
and so, but let's talk about your background because you're still in corporate America, right?
I am. Yes, it's been, gosh, almost 10 years now. And it's been a phenomenal ride. I am very thankful for everything that's happened in my corporate life, and my mentors within my corporate world have guided me. And I think the reason why I'm now in this position, it's mainly thanks to what I've learned in my corporate world.
Right.
From a leadership perspective, actually, I started very young, right after college, managing people. And obviously I had no experience. And one of my mentors back then said, "You need to read this book." And that's when I started getting obsessed with books. And he said, "Read Coach Wooden's Leadership Game Plan for Success." He's one of the best coaches, basketball coaches, UCLA championships, probably best person in the 20th century. And, I read that book, and that book changed my life. And that's what propelled me into my corporate world, where I've stayed on for almost 10 years. And then it's allowed me to now be able to focus on building my own business, and essentially uh, be able to take care of my family and my why, which is my mother. So, the most amazing human being I've ever met.
Well, let's talk about your why.
My why is my sweet, loving mother. So, if you haven't, obviously, but maybe for the listeners, I have a little bit of an accent. I am from Colombia, and I moved to the US 19 years ago in 1999. So, I didn't speak any English, and I was ready to just start learning English and get to work. But my mother said, "You need to go to school." So, I decided to graduate high school a year and a half early. I decided to graduate college a year early because I just wanted to get to work, make some money, and help take care of my mom. And my mom raised my sister and I all these years, and everything that she does, she's just done it for both of us. And now, I realize that while corporate America has been phenomenal to me, I will not be able to take care of my mother the way that she deserves to be taken care of if I don't do something else with my life. And that's where I'm at. That's where I met you, Corey. That's where you changed my
Ah, man. So,
life.
it's funny. So, here you are, you're on a journey, and like, this is a journey that a lot of people get on. They get in corporate America, and you know what? It's not bad. It's a way to make a living, right? And you've made a pretty good living. Am I right? Right?
Yes,
But
it's
there's always that little spot in our hearts that, if you're, that entrepreneurial spirit, is what I call it, right? Which is where, because right now they call it a job for a reason. It's just over broke, right? Even though you're compensated really well for what you probably do for the company, it's a 30x multiplier, right? And the company is
hmm
making all the profits. And so, one of the ways you transition is through being your own boss and starting your own business, right? And a lot of
right.
times, you can do it side by side. And the great thing about apartments, at least in the way I teach it, is that you can easily segue and do both. Because what I told you, I remember I was like, I go, man, Debbie, you already have like a warm network of people that know, like, and trust you. You have influence and
Thank you.
like and integrity, and that above
Right.
all else in what I teach is because I stress raising private money. And
hmm
so let's talk about what you've done.
So what I've done after that. So after the Kahuna Boardroom, by the way, if you can see this awesome pineapple, this is my buddy Ed Limas and I we won the pitch elevator, right?
The elevator pitch award. So we
There
call
you
it a
go.
pineapple award. So she's got this
Exactly.
golden pineapple. For everyone that's not watching the video, that's listening through iTunes, she's got this really cool gold pineapple, and I saw it. She got it in position so we could see it in the video, and
It's usually there all the time.
she's peacocking it. It's okay. She's got a pineapple. She wants everybody to know that she won a pineapple award because they are coveted. They're very much coveted things at the Kuna Board because not everybody gets one, and you
Right.
won.
Absolutely. And and it works. So basically what I've been doing since then, it's, after August, I started telling people what I was doing. And you even said, you said, Debbie, when people ask you, what do you do? And I said, I'm in real estate. You said, wrong. You don't say that. You say, I buy apartments across the nation that provide strong returns to my investors. So I started saying that. I know. Corey, I'm pretty sure I know your scripts verbatim. But it works. It works because while I started networking, within the real estate community, and it's such a phenomenal community, and then outside of it, I started to tell people, hey, this is what I do, and I help people like Lucy, who's getting close to retirement and is getting worried about her, paying her bills and not being able to live off of what she has. Or, I help people like Dr. Lisa, who's a working professional, doesn't have the time to learn a new or create a new business, but wants to invest and have their money work for them. And I swear and after that, it was the most brilliant thing I have learned from you, Corey. So, I mean, I've learned
Oh
a lot
man,
from you,
like
obviously.
I'm smiling so much right now. If you can see my face, for watching on YouTube, you're seeing me right now. She just did. I love this, dude. Just, I mean, or Debbie, I'm so thankful that that you can say that. Like I can tell you've been practicing,
Hmm.
and you've internalized your stories, right? So we talk about
Absolutely.
story selling, right? And that's what you're really just painting a picture where a lot of
Exactly.
investors are, right?
Exactly. And that also contributed that to, because when you said those stories, it resonated with me, because when I first started my corporate career, uh, very young age, I learned spin selling. And spin selling is about asking situational questions, problem questions, impact questions, and need payoff questions. And essentially, it's basically painting the picture for the person. And that's how you get to motivate people to do things. So, really, that's what I've been doing. And quite frankly, the investors that actually asked me to meet with you and so we can invest together, I never actually asked them to invest with me. And that's the next key is I so there was one time, one of my investors, we were talking in a group, and I was just telling people what I did and what we did actually. And this person got really interested, and and then said, you know what, I would love to hear more about this. And I was like, okay, sure. Well, this is what we can do. Let's set up a meeting. I would love for you to meet Corey and make sure that we all like each other. Because again, like you said, you have to like and trust each other before you make a commitment like that. It's like a marriage, you have to be committed. And, quite frankly, Corey, I've never asked anybody directly to invest with me. Maybe once, I'm not sure. But the ones that I've gotten, I've never done it.
They
So
self-selected, huh?
they're self-selected, absolutely, and it's because of what you said. It's ask people, hey, who do you know, or talk about the stories that help you're able to help people, or how investing in multifamily apartments can really give you that financial freedom. Because oftentimes, or I would think most people want freedom and time, but most people don't have either one, or if they do have one, then they don't have the other one. And multifamily investing through apartments is the way to go.
So you started raising some money. So let's talk about that.
Hmm.
Because have you ever raised money before this event, like
Never,
this kind of money,
never,
right? Okay.
absolutely
So
not.
describe to me and to the listeners what it felt like to have your first person say yes, and then to actually wire? How much money did your first investor bring in?
A
The
hundred
amount,
thousand.
$100,000,
Yes.
right?
And
Like,
that was about 4 months after you and I met at the Kahuna Boardroom.
tell me that. Walk through that experience of what it felt like.
You know, at first, I couldn't believe it. It really didn't click you actually said, "Yep, it's wired." And my investor was like, "Hey, I'm ready to go." And a week later, the money was wired, and I was just like, Corey, what just happened? And you said to me on the phone, and you said, "You just raised private money, $100,000. How does it feel?" And then that's when I got so excited because I just can't believe that I just couldn't believe it. Just 4 months afterwards, and that's another example of when you focus on something, you get what you focus on, and that's exactly what happened. And but yeah,
Well,
that's
and
really
you're taking it a step further. So you've now had 3 or 4 investors. Can't remember how many you've brought into some of the deals that we're doing together.
hmm
And it's been a great. And I always call it momentum. So to get the first one is the hardest because it's like
hmm
you don't believe in yourself yet, right? You're doing the
right.
words, you're saying the things, right? But you're still not sure, and then you get your first one, right?
hmm
And so what changed? What do you think changed after that? Or did anything change, or did it just reconfirm?
I think it reconfirmed. I think it reconfirmed the fact that when you are one of the main principles that I try to live by, or it's character, ethics, and attitude. And I think being true to myself is was really one of the main keys. So I think it just reconfirmed that, but it also helped the fact that you and Shelly and even your father Randy were so supportive and said you can do this, even though I've had not, I don't have any real estate experience. And then all of a sudden, we're in a deal where it's, a $10.65 million deal. And, it's just unbelievable. Quite frankly, I still sometimes I wake up and I can't believe it.
Now, so let's talk about the future, right?
hmm
Because you had some success, some early success, right? And and it's really just by doing the work. You're out there putting yourself in positions, doing exactly what I told you to do. I'm like, you're in corporate America, leverage what you already have, right? You already have
Absolutely.
connections, you already have groups and peoples, and now I've challenged you to go a step further, right? Step further,
hmm
you know where that step's at, right? I'll let you talk
hmm
about it, but but then you also you did an event. You had this idea. You're at some event or where a lot of people were together, and you're like, "Hey, I got an idea." And what'd you guys do?
Right. So my partner and I, we usually travel a lot for events, real estate related, and we were at one of the events and out of town, and we had the idea that, hey, we should get together with people who want to learn about multifamily investing. And, and one of my things is obviously, I love to help people, and I love mentoring others. And that's what I do in my corporate job. That's one of my favorite things to do. And that's why every day when I go to work, it just brings a smile to my face because whenever I talk to my mentees and they tell me about their successes and everything, that's what I love the most, to see people grow.
Yep.
So whenever we had this idea, we said, you know what, fine, let's rent out this room, a suite, and everything. It
Hold
doesn't
on,
matter.
hold on. No, you're not doing it justice. This is not just a
Okay.
suite. This was like the Mac Daddy suite of all suites that you could get. Am I right?
Yes,
It
you
was
are. Yes.
pimped,
It
and
was. It was.
and it was
Uh,
also kind of costly, but it created a cool venue, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where the momentum, that's momentum is imperative, to really any business, right? But that continue to help with that momentum that I started creating last year when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I think it was on the 50th floor. And then we had the idea to bring one of my investors. to speak on behalf of his, of, basically on his
His
experience. So
experience in the
the way
process, right?
exactly. So because we wanted to teach people, one from, my partner, she's a coach. She's been in real estate for a long time as well, and she's very passionate and very genuine and the most humble person you'll ever meet. And by the way, as you know, she's in love with Hawaii. So, she wanted to speak on the power of coaching and all that. And then my experience was around being a new student or being a new person in the industry, and how if you take action and when you listen to people like yourself or your coaches, or people that have been there and done that, what results they can get. And then the third piece was from a passive investor's perspective is, hey, not only if you want to be a syndicator, you also have to do your due diligence when you're passively investing. So it was about educating a group of people on,
The
how to
whole
do each one
process,
of
right?
those. Exactly.
This first and
Exactly.
this, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what a
And
great experience! And you brought that to a lot of people showed up,
a
right?
lot, yes. I actually,
I remember you
I was
calling
down.
me afterwards.
I know, and I even had to stop some people because the room just got so full, and it was just phenomenal. And I called you and I said I love teaching this stuff, and now, one of my, like you said, what's in the future. One of my goals is to obviously become a master in the multifamily space in this vertical, and be able to just educate people and tell them how they can get to where they want to be through apartment investing.
I would equate this is how I like from my version of seeing you watching you go through this process, right? It was
Hmm.
at that event when you truly, I will say you truly believed, right? Like
Hmm.
in my mind, you were going through the process, you're going and you're having some success, but it's like I don't know if it's real or tangible yet, right? But after that
Hmm.
event, I felt like like if I'm thinking about you, is that you transcended to another plane, right? You were no
Hmm.
longer on this bottom field here. You moved up the rung, three or four rungs, and then all of a sudden it's like you saw a vision. If I can, and I think you said in at least in my, if I was like, you said I can, I think I can do this. I actually
Right.
know it was not. I think I can. It was like I know I can do this.
Right.
There's a
Absolutely. And thank
change.
you. Absolutely. And and again, it was a lot because of you, Corey. Like, you were so just genuine and just empowering that you spent the entire time with me. You never even a single once told me, Debbie, I really can't talk to you right now. You really instilled that in me, and then that's what took off. And another thing that's very powerful is, in your training, you said you got to visualize it, believe that you can do it, and every single day. And I actually have it actually here. Let me show you. 1 second. So ever since then, I write on my journal, find my first multifamily apartment by end of year. Now, this one, actually, this is for this year. It says find second multifamily deal by whatever date. So I wrote that every single day. I visualized every single day. Every time I'm driving down here, Dallas Fort Worth, I see a building and I just imagine, my company's name on there, or whatever the case might be, or just me being a co-owner with you, or in all my investors. And I think that the visualization piece is definitely something that you can't take for granted. It
It's
really does
powerful, isn't it? It's powerful,
work.
right? When you start
Absolutely.
believing it, you really can achieve it. Like it really. I mean, that's how I end every podcast. Is that what your mind is a powerful tool, right? And it will
Hmm.
do or not do what you program it to. And by doing what you're doing right there, that is hands down one of the strongest things you'll ever do. Like if you're, it's like going, if you want to be a marathoner, right? You got a marathon, you got to run every day, right? You're building your power of your mind, a tool that connects, that makes everything else function in life. You're programming it to say, this is where I'm going. And man, it
Absolutely.
is the law of attraction, right?
Yes.
You and
And
you're starting to find it.
Yes, and thanks to you. And another thing that goes along that is, being able to trust, because there's a lot out there. And, like you said, it's like, okay, I wasn't sure, but I was sure from the minute I started talking to you. And I believe that it's better to trust and be disappointed occasionally than to always mistrust and live a miserable life, and then
That's a
that.
great quote.
Oh, thank you. Well, actually, a lot of my, I would say, leadership type of values or character-based type of, values, I learned it from Coach Wooden. He's a phenomenal. If anybody wants to read that book, if you haven't read it, that's my recommendation. While he's a
We'll make sure we put
basketball
it in the show
plus,
notes.
huh?
We're gonna put it in the show notes. That
Okay,
book.
great.
Uh
Yes.
huh.
I mean, even though he was basketball coach, it translates into business as well. So, and it helps if you're building a team. It helps if you're, starting out your own business. It just helps you in in whatever journey you're in your life. So, but that's one of my favorite quotes from that, and it's always been in the back of my mind. You just gotta trust it. Just go for it. And if it doesn't work, oh well, try something else.
Right. So let's talk about one last topic, and then we're gonna roll out. Um, Talk about I want it's we've been talking about how good and all the great things. Um,
Hmm.
Talk about like let's talk about like is there any dark periods so far like or just like moments where you self doubted or like because I think a lot of people go through that stuff and I want to see if there's any of that in your process.
Oh, absolutely. Geez, gosh. Okay, so I would say, gosh, I'm trying to find an example, but yeah, it happens, and it happens on occasion, and sometimes it just feels like, because you talk to so many people, and so many people say yes, let's do this, and then you get so many no's, right? And then
Boom, there's where I wanted to go.
that,
I wanted you to get there, but
okay.
I wanted you to say it.
Okay, awesome. And then that's when it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, okay, you know what? But again, it's like you got to keep going. You got to get out of the funk and just keep your focus.
Because you hear a
And
lot of no's, right?
hmm?
You get a lot of no's.
Oh, absolutely. All
Yeah.
the time. And, it's interesting because before I really started raising capital, I started asking people, okay, well, or not really asking people, but they were telling me, hey, if you ever have anything, let me know. I would love to invest with you. And as soon as something was available, you go back to these people and, they're, oh, I'm not ready yet, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of no's. So I would say at least, and like you said, 50% of those yeses or 100% of those yeses, only 50% will convert. And so that's one thing, but
But that's
also
okay though, right? Like so, and
absolutely.
I want to expand on that for just a minute because I want people, the audience, to understand that no doesn't mean it just means no right now. It doesn't mean no
Exactly.
forever, right?
Right.
And a lot of times people are watching you to see if you're actually going to do what you said you're going to do, right?
Absolutely.
So you're raising money and then the deal closes. That's like another level. Like, oh, you closed. Oh, you're doing another deal. Oh, and then it's kind of like you come back and you're always dripping on these people because a lot of times knows means I just don't know enough information yet to be comfortable till but once they do they get to say yes.
Absolutely. And that's 100%. And I was probably say 90% of those no's are like that. Where they're like, okay, not right now, but I know, and because of the momentum that we've been building, Corey, I'm not gonna lie to you, but 2019 is going to just boom.
It's gonna be
So I
amazing,
cannot
isn't it?
wait. Yes, and I cannot wait. And yeah, but that's another thing. It's just I was gonna mention something else, but it just completely slipped out of my mind. I got so excited about the
That's what
notes and
happens
stuff
when we
like that,
go in and
but
have great conversations and a great process. It's like, hold on, what was I gonna say? Um,
I know, and it was gonna be awesome, but it'll probably come back to me.
it'll come back. So now you also, so I want to also point out you have a partner because sometimes like um, everybody thinks that real estate is a solopreneur type of sport, when actually in multifamilies it's so much really not, right? Can you speak to
Absolutely.
that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, that's one of the reasons. I remember now what I was going to say. Another, I guess, dark moment that when you're kind of going through uncertainty and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I should, if I can do this, or, is because if you don't have that support and a partner, whether it's your life partner or family, whatever the case might be, it can be very difficult. So I am, you know very thankful that I have an awesome life partner who happens to be in real estate as well, so it's perfect. But who just believes in my crazy big dreams, and it's just because when I came back home and I said, oh my gosh, I met this guy. His name is Corey Peterson. We're gonna go to this event. She's like, oh gosh, another event. And I said, no, 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 you don't understand. Like this is it. So it's important, and even currently, I'm talking about different things, different changes that are going to be happening in my life this year, and they're pretty crazy ideas, and she's like, I support you 100%, and that is so important to do that. But also, again, it goes back to my mother as well and my sister.
Back
They've
to that why.
Exactly. It's they believe in me, and they just regardless of how old you are, whether you're younger or older, it doesn't matter. As long as you just stay focused, you're gonna make it happen. And I would say if you don't have that support, because it has happened to me before, where I tried to when I tried to join, one of the programs, I had a lot of people say, no, don't do it, don't pay that amount of money, and all this stuff, and I did not listen to that. And I am so glad I didn't, because if I had not done that, or if I would have listened to that, I would not be here right now. So get all those negative naysayers out of your life, and whether it's family and friends, unfortunately, if it doesn't align to
Those are
your
always the
goals,
ones that are the worst. It's your
exactly,
family and
then
your friends.
exactly.
they always
then
after they always come around after the fact. Oh, I always knew you could do it. Right.
right, but I've been very blessed though that it's only been a couple of times, and but other than that, everybody's been very supportive. I've been very lucky from that perspective.
Oh man, dude, I'm
Yeah.
I'm so I'm so excited for you. I really truly believe that this 2019 is going to absolutely open up in a way that really give you that the two things that we're all searching for, which is time and money, right? More money, more time gives you more choices. That's truly
Hmm.
what we're talking about is choices. I can only tell you like when I bought my mom and dad a house and said, "Here's the keys," and it's all paid for, right? Like you don't
Hmm.
ever have to worry about paying anything. That's a
Right.
pretty cool experience, right?
Oh my
And
gosh.
you
And
know,
and can I say something about that real quick?
yeah,
And Corey, that's actually one of my goals this year. Again, it goes back to my mother, my why. Um, my why, my reason for this year is to get her that house. She's in Colombia right now, and I want her closer to us. And that's what I've been working very, very hard on. Is just to be able to buy her house in Florida, so she can finally enjoy her life. She's almost 70 years old, and then I want to be able to have that freedom and time to be able to do things with her, and then I cannot wait to come to you and say, Corey, I did the same thing you did, with your parents. So that's my goal. And also I want to mention before we close is one thing is that I know we talked about. I've had a very good experience in my corporate life, but I came to this country without learning any English, and I was bullied in middle school. And I just want to make sure that whoever's listening, it doesn't matter if you were in that position, you can make changes in your life and you can get to where you are today. Because hopefully I'm an example of that. And also, not to mention, I'm also part of the LGBT community. And that's another thing that I'm very passionate about, and also women in leadership. So regardless of your background, race, color, whatever you like, don't let that stop you from pursuing your dreams.
we all start the same way, naked and
Mhm.
crying. Okay,
Exactly.
you know, and so Life is hard, and it's not easy. I mean, no one has. Um, yeah, there's few people that have a spoon-fed, easy life, but most of us, um,
Hmm.
the entrepreneurs of the world, a lot of times we've had to really work, and entrepreneurship is just as much of about failure as it is success, because um, you either grow or you learn, right? And when you
Absolutely.
have six or failures, they're not failures; they're just learning experiences, right?
Mhm.
And really, and you've got to embrace it and know that that is part of the process. And I think you're a great example of someone that was determined, that even though there's so much that can happen in your life, you strived, you reached, you achieved, and you were living what I call the American dream.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, and Shelly, and Randy, and your parents for having you. So,
So
but
listen, if
I
anybody
want
wants to get a hold of you, oh, go ahead,
to,
go ahead.
yeah, and I want to say one more thing is the gosh, you see, Corey, you get me so excited, and then you made me forget things again. It's like it was gonna be great, but anyway, go on, go on.
Are you sure? I'm gonna start talking again.
Ah, man.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So
there it
another
is.
thing that I want to definitely share with people, and that I've seen it's worked for people that have tried it, is if you're starting out new, like I did, and I mean I'm still new, is when you approach people who are experienced in this field, ask them, hey, how can I add value to you? How can I be of value to you and your business? Because no matter where you come from, again, you always have something that you can give to somebody, even if it's not financially. Um, then ask people that way, and you will not believe the responses you will get. And 90% of the time, every time I ask somebody, well, how can I help you? And it's shocking because they have no idea what to say, right?
Right.
Because nobody ever really asks people that. So I would say if you're new, wanting to get into this business, ask people, hey, how can I be of value to you? And quite frankly, I think that's what I did to you, right? I said, well, how can I help you? I don't have this experience, but I've got this and this and that. How can we
Yep.
leverage that? So
Yep.
anyway, that's one of my
That's exactly
advice.
what we did.
Yep.
Cool. Debbie, if anybody wants to get a hold of you or your company, where would they go?
They can find me on Facebook, Debbie Camacho-Franco, and or my company. They can go to francoacquisitions.com. That's Franco, and that's actually named after my mother, since that's her last name. And then or my phone number is 214-919-4626.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh,
Awesome.
and then also I guess you can get my email as well, Debbie at francoacquisitions.com.
Rock and roll. Listen, thank you so much for coming on the show, and just really providing a whole different perspective. It was very, I love, so it was very corporate, right? I'm not corporate. I'm like a damn cannonball. I want to like wreck everything. I could tell you're so much more reserved, and you're so much more polished than I am. But it
Oh,
doesn't, and I don't mean that anything bad. I think it's great. I wish I had those abilities. Um, but what I love about what you've done, and I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, is that you saw something, you had a dream, and you
hmm.
wanted something, and then you went after it, and you have continued that process. You've not stopped, right? And that is
Exactly.
really everything. So, guys, Ali, if you're listening right now, if you are inspired by Debbie's story, take action. In fact, right now, before
Mhm.
you get off this podcast, right, in your go to there's two places that you need to go. One, you can just go to kahunawealthbuilders.com, and I have a free gift for you there. So the first pop up that shows up is my quick start workshop. It's free. All you got to do is put in your email address and your name, and we send you a really cool video on how to raise private money and how to find get deal flow. But if you want to take a little bit bigger step, the first place that I would recommend that you go is we've got a site called Cashflow HQ. So Cashflow HQ for headquarters, right? .com, and go get. I would say get our RPM course, our Raising Private Money course. It's only $597, and I'm telling you right now, it's loaded with like nuggets. You just saw Debbie recite some of the stuff that we teach in that course, which was how do you say what do you do, right? And she did it in two
Exactly.
different ways: a short story and a long story.
Mm-hmm.
And has that not helped like open the door? And that's only a smidget of what's in there. So, with that said,
Exactly.
if you believe it, you can achieve it. Your paradise is possible.